And then once you setting it up now. Give me a few minutes.
That's right. Are you starting?
It's going now. Right after this open.
I can't see anything, so let me know when to go.
You can't see that?
I see me and you, but I don't see the introduction.
Going now. Right after this open.
Okay. Can't see anything, so let me know when to go. I see me and you, but I don't see the introduction.
All right, we're good now? Claudia.
Okay.
All right,
Yes.
let's go. Okay.
See. Tell me when to go.
Good.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to Pittsburgh's Ring Talk. Today, we have just me and Luther. That's it.
That's all we need today. All we
me and
need.
Luther Dupree. We were supposed to have Smoking Jim on, and that's all we need. And he got caught up in some things. And our special guest today was supposed to be former WBC light heavyweight champ Donnie Lalonde, but Donnie got mixed up in a storm and lost some electricity. So it's just Luther and me. So we'll be all right there, right, Luther?
Oh, yeah. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of boxing news. I'm ready to go.
All right, man. Well, you know what? We kind of just went off script. We were talking about some different things. And one of the topics that we, off the top of our head, is rematches that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Some great fights, some iconic fights, very iconic fights. And we came up with a list of about 8 fights within under 1 minute. So, Luther, give me one that you thought of right away, rematches that didn't happen that you wish would have happened.
Oh, well, I had a couple, but 2003, I'd say Lennox Lewis, Vitaly Klitschko. I would have loved to have seen that fight again. Lewis won. He took a beating. That was probably his last fight. I think he retired after that, but I would have liked to see those guys get it on again. Vitaly went on to do good things and great things, but he didn't get Lennox Lewis that night. So right. Yeah, I definitely would have liked that one to be. How about you?
The first one that popped into my mind was the Cooney Holmes fight.
Oh yeah.
That had a lot of build up, and after Cooney got knocked down, he made a nice run during that fight, made it more competitive. And the scorecards were a little bit skewed because he got some points taken away. But I think it would have been a great rematch. I think it would have gotten a lot of attention. But for whatever reason, they never got it on again. But what's ironic is right before everything hit in March, they were actually talking about doing something together in the ring. You know, not really going 100%, but doing something in the ring. And now they're the best of friends, of course. But I would have liked to have seen that one. That's the first thing that popped into my mind. How about you? You have another? We have a couple more to go. So go ahead, Luke. Your turn.
Oh, yeah. I'll go to the heavyweight. I'll stay in the heavyweight division. What about Larry Holmes, Ken Norton? Yeah. Epic 15 round. It was a slugfest. I think, well, you know my feeling. I think Norton won that fight. I think he should have got the decision. Holmes won it. 2 judges gave it to him. 1 gave it to Norton. The 15 round, he got real tired, but I think he was winning that fight. But he didn't get the decision.
You brought something up. Let's go back a second.
Okay.
You mentioned Lennox against Klitschko. If
Yeah.
they did have a rematch, who do you think would have won the rematch?
I kind of think Klitschko, because Lennox Lewis was long in the tooth, and I think he had planned for that to be his retirement fight. I think Klitschko would have got him if they fought again, just because he was going into his prime, and Lewis had fought in all those wars and was pretty much at the end of his reign.
Okay. Now the Cooney Holmes fight, Holmes always told Cooney that if Cooney would have had a little bit more experience, if he would have originally fought Mike Weaver and gained a little more experience, he said things may have been different. And that's Holmes saying that. And then when you have a puncher like Cooney, anything can happen at any time. So, boy, a rematch. Let me ask you, who do you think would have won a rematch?
Cooney.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't like Holmes. So
I'm not a big Holmes guy. So Cooney would have got the rematch. Norton would have got a rematch, would have run a rematch. If Ali was younger, he would have got him in a rematch. But, it's at the end of his life.
I do think, I kind of think Cooney would have gotten a rematch because according to everybody, Foreman, Holmes, Jimmy Young, a lot of these guys said he was the hardest guy that ever hit them. And don't forget, Holmes fought Shavers, and he fought some boys he could hit. But on my end, my turn, Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
That would have been a great rematch. I mean, can you imagine the hype on that one? Now, I know what you're going to say, that when Buster fought Holyfield, he gained some weight. I'm just going to say this. If Buster would have been that night Buster, I don't know if anybody in the history of boxing could have beaten him that night. And I've said this, and me and you go back and forth, that I didn't say he was the greatest, okay? I don't have him in the top 10, 15, but I'm saying as far as skill level is concerned, I've never seen – what?
I hear what you're saying. I don't believe a word of what you're saying, but I hear what you're saying.
Okay, he didn't have a good jab. He had a great jab. And he had some heat behind it. He had great feet. He had good movement. I mean, he had snap. I mean, he was accurate. And, people can say what they want about Tyson. Now, if it was, again, for the millionth time, if Buster would have hit him one time and knocked him out, okay, it was fluke. But he beat him all night long. If they had a rematch, now, when you have a puncher like Tyson, anything it's a game changer. That punch is a game changer. Guys like a Foreman or Marciano or Wilder, anybody with a big, or Cooney, Shavers, anybody with a big punch, okay, they have less to do. Not to get too far off, but how many times we talked about the Tua Lewis fight, and I said Lewis at the end of the fight had to be drained mentally and physically to win that fight. Every round, man, he had to be focused. Where Tua, he just had to land one shot, and he didn't. But I think if there was a rematch, if Buster was the same Buster, both mentally and physically, nobody could have beaten him that night. What about you? What do you think?
I think if the version that fought Holyfield would have fought Tyson, Tyson would have destroyed him like Holyfield. That night Tyson was partying. He had all the women. He was partying. And Buster Douglas, but he was partying. He wasn't training. He had stopped training years before that, But Tyson would have destroyed him. That was Buster Douglas' only time that he was in shape. He was mentally focused. And he had all the tools. You always bring it up. He had all the tools, but he didn't have it up here, and he didn't have it up here, and his discipline was bad. And we saw that this past weekend with a couple fights.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get to that. Okay, I said Buster Tyson. What's your next fight?
Let's see. Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray.
Wow.
I think that would have been a great fight. Hagler got mad and didn't fight again after that, I think. So I think that would have been a great fight, but Sugar Ray was able to steal rounds. Marvin Hagler couldn't track him down and do that bully, and just it didn't work with him. Sugar Ray was too quick, too crafty, and he schooled Marvin Hagler.
So you agree that Sugar Ray won that fight, correct?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, because a lot of people don't, but I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, he outclassed him. Hagler, Hagler was trying to go for the knockout, and Sugar Ray wasn't having it. And danced around and did enough at the end of the rounds and won the fight. But I would have liked to seen it again. Maybe
that would have been
his game plan. I think.
I think that would have made, again. You talk about money. Can you imagine what they'd have made in a rematch? Because it was a close fight, so it wasn't a blowout or a knockout. It was a very close fight. So I think that the fans would have definitely wanted to see that fight again.
Sure, sure.
A fight that you reminded me of, that I mentioned, you mentioned Hagler, is Hagler Hearns.
Oh yeah,
they just, it was a slugfest, and I would have liked to have seen that fight again because I personally think that. Oh, let's go back again. So if Hagler and Leonard fight the second time, who do you like that fight?
Um, I don't. I don't think. I think his style would not have beaten Sugar Ray. Hagler's style at that time. I don't think it could have got Sugar Ray. If he would have changed it a little bit, I think he could have gotten him. But I'm gonna still go with my man Sugar Ray Leonard. Would have beat him on any night.
I'm with you. I think Sugar Ray would have been even smarter, and he fought a very smart fight. But I think Hagler would have tried to knock him out earlier. I think he would have tried even harder to make it a brawl. And I think Sugar Ray would have made him look even worse. I don't want to say even worse than he did the first time, but he'd have made him look bad. And so I'm with you there. But another fight, my turn, would be Hagler Hearns. We talked about that. That fight, I definitely think Hearns would have fought a smarter fight, and that is use that crazy reach that he had with some pop behind it, and move a little bit more because he did have. He wasn't the boxer that Sugar Ray was, obviously, but he was a skilled fighter. He just wasn't a guy, a one punch puncher, you know. So I think that if they would have fought again the second time, I think he would have won. I think Hearns would have won that rematch. What do you think?
I think he definitely could have won that rematch, man. Hearns, man, he had it all. That, the jab, he was long, but his chin was questionable. But I think he could have. I think he could have won that rematch for sure. Definitely. I never put anything past the Hitman. We'd be talking, if he had a stronger chin, we'd be talking about him as one of the greatest of all time, I think. I mean, he was that special to me offensively, but his chin, nothing you could do with your chin. Once you get hit, a rock, you either have a chin, you're blessed with it, or you're blessed without it. He was blessed without it. So
I saw him in 2000. I don't know when it was. I think I do. It was like 2003 in Rochester, New York, at the Rochester Boxing Hall of Fame. I knew he was tall, but I didn't realize how tall he was. I mean, he was a nice sized guy. He had big hands, right?
Yeah.
Damn. And Sugar Ray did. I'll never forget that fight. I was listening to Round by Round. We're talking about Leonard and Hearns. I'm sorry, but the Leonard Hearns fight, and they did have a rematch, and that was a draw. But they had it years later. But when Leonard did fight him, I would have liked to seen that rematch sooner. That's my point. I would have liked to seen that rematch sooner, not so late as we did. And finally, unless you can think of another one, the Ali Foreman, which is you brought up. That's the fight you brought up. Now, the first one, we've talked about it on the show before. Muhammad Ali hired Ernie Shaver's brother, who apparently was a banger like Ernie, to do nothing but hit Muhammad in the arms and in the body. That's all. Don't hit me in the head, but hit me in the body. And Angelo Dundee didn't understand what was going on because he didn't tell anybody about the rope-a-dope. Okay. Then, because you're not going to stand toe-to-toe with George Foreman back then or now, right?
Right.
And I think I'm assuming because of the heat, Muhammad wasn't going to dance all day and jab. Okay. So I think his game plan was let Foreman tire himself out. Once the tank is low, then I'll do what I did. And that's exactly what he did. He paid a hell of a price.
Yeah.
But and then the famous line is Muhammad's against the ropes and George has pounded him. And Muhammad said, "Is that all you got?" And Foreman said to himself, "Yeah, that's pretty much it."
I remember. I saw that interview. Foreman was like, "Man, that is all I got.
That's all I got."
That's part of
what'd you think of the fight, and what do you think would have happened in a rematch?
I think Muhammad Ali beats him anytime because Foreman just had that style. He wasn't going to change. He was a brawler, a bruiser, and Muhammad Ali had, he had a chin. He could take the body punches. He could move, and he had power. I mean, I think anytime, any day, Muhammad Ali beats George Foreman.
Now,
No
do you
point
think
there.
he would have fought a different fight if it was indoors? Do you think he would dance more and move more and make
I
Foreman
do
miss?
I do think so. I
Okay.
know he thought it was going to be hot. He didn't want to burn a lot of energy, and Foreman's just out there, firing and firing.
Club.
Then he ran out. He ran out of gas, and Marley hit him with some stuff. Foreman stumbling. That was just a great game plan. Not many people could have done that. To
Right.
take those body shots from Big George and still have that power left, man, that's just amazing. He's just too special, man. We were blessed to see him.
That's for sure. Now I'm going to go off script, and this next question is dedicated to Smoking Jim Frazier.
Oh, dang.
Who would have won?
I gotta go to Wikipedia.
Well, no. Who would have won? Okay, the 70s George Foreman or the 90s George Foreman?
Oh, come on.
Because Smoking Jim talks about Cassius Clay and
And
Muhammad
Muhammad
Ali.
Ali. Yeah,
Okay,
man.
go ahead.
Give me the young bull.
Really?
That young bull was something, man. The older George came back. He still had the power. He was a smarter fighter,
Right.
but I'm not
Right.
sure, but the power had to be gone a little bit. He had to lose some of that power. Michael Moore might disagree with me, but that power was gone. He still had a lot of power left, but man, that young George Foreman, he used to hit guys and knock them off the ground.
No
Joe
question.
Frazier, man, he punished that man.
I'll never forget my mom, because again, we love Foreman, always love Foreman. Man, we like Frazier too.
Right.
And I hate fights like that. You want to root for one guy. But anyway, I remember my mom saying in Italian, poor guy, because she was afraid because, this was the tape of the fight. But I think it was, I don't know if it was live. It was so many years ago. I don't remember if it was live or not. But he's picking him up. He's picking him up, like you said, with these punches, and he's bouncing off the ground. But okay, let me ask you this. I know what your answer is going to be, but would the 40-plus-year-old Foreman, how would he have done that night against Ali?
I don't think he would have punched himself out. He would have gone about it smarter.
Right.
He wouldn't have sat there once he saw that was the game plan. He would have recognized, hey, I'm burning all this energy. It's hot out here. I don't think he would have gone that. Maybe the first round, but then once he saw, he might have changed his game plan up a little bit. But at that time, George thought he was invincible. So
yeah,
I thought he would have fought a smarter fight, but L was coming regardless to me. You're going against the greatest of all time. It's Ali.
Now the big question is, which court would Angelo Dundee go to both corners?
Right.
But it was funny, and again, I'm with you 1,000%. He was much smarter, but the thing that he took more punches in his 40s. Like he fought a guy named I want to say his name was Stewart. I could be wrong. Alex Stewart.
Alex Stewart. Okay, right.
And Foreman should have just smoked him, but he didn't. He was doing that peekaboo, and this guy was getting some shit. His face was all busted up. But in his older days, his second career, he was taking more. He was taking more punches. He didn't sit down in between the rounds, and I never saw him out of breath. Now, if you watch him against Ron Lyle, which was a hell of a fight, you have to watch. I'm sure you've seen it, Luther, but it was just a classic fight. That they were knocking each other down. Here you go, the destroyer. But Foreman was never out of breath. And he said he trained differently. He couldn't run as much because he was older.
Right.
But he would pull Jeeps up hills and he'd walk longer, But he's a guy who, I think the world of George Foreman. And when you got a punch like that, I think you can beat anybody. But I think, Luther, that as great as Muhammad is, and obviously he is, and styles make fights without question. I'll just say this. I think it would have been a better fight. I'm with you. I don't think he would have run out of gas.
Right.
That's true. That first time. So, all right. Now, so next subject that I thought of you couple times I thought of you when I heard the news. And I didn't text you. Usually I text you right away. When Benavidez lost the belt last week on the scale, I think by 3 pounds.
Yeah.
He still beat the guy, and I should have wrote down the guy's name. He was not a big name fighter, but I'm sure you can pull it up. And he dominated the fight. But what's the first thing you thought about when they stripped him of the belt. I mean, he had to have known 3 pounds is a lot. Okay.
Right.
In that world. What were your thoughts when you found out that he was stripped of the belt that night because he lost it on the scale?
Yeah, I was very disappointed in David Benavidez. Um, he's a guy with all the talent in the world. He lost his title. This is the second time he's lost his title outside the ring. He lost it before because he had illegal substances in the system. He was partying. And yeah, the guy he beat was Romir Anguilla.
Anguilla.
That guy took a beating, and it's a daggone shame that Benavidez. It's just lack of discipline. He's 6 feet. He's big for that, for that weight, but 3 pounds, no excuses. He should have made it. Maybe it's time for him to move to a bigger weight, more of a natural weight, maybe, because I've heard he balloons up to maybe 230 when he doesn't.
Well, I never heard that.
Yeah, that's true. He balloons up to maybe almost around 230, and then has to cut
230.
That's the rumor. I'm not saying it's true, but he has all the talent in the world. We saw him destroy this Anguilla. He destroyed Anthony Durrell to get the title.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just he's a really top fighter, and I would have liked.
You say it every time we're on that you would like to see him fight one of the big boys, which would be like a super fight.
I'd like to see him fight Canelo, who now all of a sudden that the belt is stripped. Now he wants to go ahead and fight for it, and fight a guy who hasn't won a fight in 3 years. That's what I'm saying. Canelo, I don't like the way he's moving in this sport. If you want to be great, they say he's the so-called face of boxing, which I disagree because he's not fighting top competition. He's still avoiding the third Triple G fight. He's not fighting Jamal Charlo. He's not fighting Demetrius Andre. He's not fighting Billy Joe Saunders. All these guys.
Did he ever call out Floyd?
Yeah, but Floyd's old. He said
No,
he'd like to.
I understand that, but did he ever call him out for a rematch?
I think he did call Floyd out for a rematch. But again, that man is in his 40s. Okay. He has all these guys in his age group. He's fighting all these overrated guys, the Ricky Fieldings. I need to see him in with some tough competition. I did like when he fought who was it? Danny Jacobs. That's
the one that really, to be honest with you, we talked about it a bunch with Jim, and I know Jim loves Canelo, but I was so disappointed in him when he fought Mayweather. Mayweather schooled him and just made him look bad.
That's pretty much how I thought it was going to be.
See, I thought it was. I don't know if I thought he was going to win, but I did. They say he'd knock a house down. So I said, man, if he catches Floyd, if he goes after him, but Floyd was like he was bored. He really just schooled him. So, but I thought it was going to be better than that. Okay, and then he didn't do anything. He was just, again, you can see Floyd was just toying with him. But the only fight that I was really impressed with, because I think Daniel Jacobs is big time, was the Daniel Jacobs fight. So that's when I don't want to say respect, but let's just say I thought he climbed the ladder a little bit with me. But let me ask you this, Luther, and we've said this a lot on this show. I personally think that what they're doing with Canelo is when you're making him fight these guys that aren't any good, I think they lack confidence in him. I think that they want to squeeze as much money as possible out of him because, and there's a few other fighters I've thought that about. It's a business, and I've told you, I know we're all huge fans, but you said let this guy should fight that guy like they did, Hearns and Hagler and Leonard and Duran, and they did those guys. That was a different ball game.
Different guys, different, yes.
Yeah, they just look. I don't think they care about the fans. I don't think they care about pride, which is what you mentioned. They just want that dollar. But Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Duran, they made money too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You can definitely do both.
You can do both. But you and I've talked about it before. Why is it a crime if you lose a fight?
Exactly. Everybody wants to, Floyd Mayweather. I got to be undefeated my whole career. Hey, listen, most fighters are going to lose. There's very few fighters that
we don't know the percentages, but the guys off the top of my head that never lost was, of course, Rocky. And I got to mention him. A guy named Sven Otke, who nobody knows about, He was a super middleweight. Joe Calzaghe,
Right.
Joe Macy was #1 contender. He was 36-0, and Floyd.
Right.
So if you lose, Sugar Ray, pound for pound, arguably the greatest fighter of Leonard, greatest fighter of all time, lost 3 fights, I believe. Okay, it's not, Norris, Camacho, Duran, and he tied with Hearns. Did he lose anybody else?
I think that was it. I think you named them all. But I mean,
Okay.
you're right. Most of these guys are going to lose.
Muhammad, forget about Burbick and all that. Forget about Holmes. But he did lose against Frazier. He lose, so. But I think that I really do think that the promoters say, look, I want to squeeze as much money as I can out of this guy. And let me, I say, dance through the raindrops. Let me pick and choose who we can fight. But you can go do that. But then I don't think, like some people, they may watch a show and say, oh, they always talk about Duran, Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, and Muhammad. Well, yeah.
That was the golden era.
But they fought people.
And they fought.
That's why it was the golden era.
They fought each other, most of them, multiple times.
Exactly.
That's the key. They weren't scared to take a loss.
And
I don't like the way Canelo is moving. I don't like the way Terrence Crawford is moving.
No.
All of these guys aren't fighting top competition.
No.
That's why I'm such a big Errol Spence fan.
Yeah.
You look at who he's fought. He went over to the UK to get the belt from Kell Brook.
Yeah, and that's a big thing going over there.
Exactly. Put him out, knocked him out, TKO. I mean, that's huge.
Brook is a good fighter.
Yeah, he is. And now I'd like to see Terrence Crawford, even though the Kell Brook now is not what he was a couple years ago, but that still would be the best fighter on Terrence Crawford's resume. Right now, he doesn't want to fight Sean Porter, doesn't want to fight Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia. I mean, come on.
That would elevate him big time.
Exactly.
Now, what do you think? You mentioned Sean Porter. I'm a big Sean Porter fan. Jim hates Sean Porter, but Sean Porter will fight anybody. What are your thoughts on Sean Porter?
Listen, I think Sean Porter has the best resume in the welterweight division.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's fought Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, Ugas, Peterson, Adrian Broner. He's fought all of these guys, and he may get another shot at Errol. So I think he has the best resume. However, I think he's limited in his skill. He doesn't have a lot of great power. Sometimes he gets sloppy and does a lot of ballroom fighting. But I think he could do so much more. He's athletic. He's strong. He's always in your face, and he's gonna make you work. Anybody who's beat him, it was never a washout. Everybody had to work. Kell Brook, it was a fight. Keith Thurman, it was a fight. Errol Spence, it was a fight. The only one who put him down was Errol Spence, and I think he got knocked down one other time. But I think he's a tough fighter, but I don't think he has enough power to really deal with some of these other guys, and I think his style gets kind of sloppy at times.
We talked about Floyd, and I was never the biggest Floyd fan. I've always said that he was the smartest fighter ever. Okay, but we just hit on something. You just hit on something a minute ago, where you can fight the big name guys, the big fights, and make a lot of money. And not only did Mayweather do that, but in my opinion, not only was he smart out of the ring, making all that money that he did, but in the ring, he did not do it. I love Sugar Ray Leonard, right? I thought Sugar Ray fought the wrong fight against Roberto Duran the first time.
Right.
He should have worn the tassel. He should have danced. Okay, not you don't stand there with Roberto Duran, right?
Right.
Mayweather is what's that?
Not hands of stone like that. I mean, you don't stand there and fight him. I agree. We agree on that. Jim doesn't. He definitely fought the wrong fight.
I was at an event where Raymond Mancini was asked, and I talked about it on this show in Steel City Sports World. How would Floyd have done against Duran, Hearns, Hagler, Leonard? And I'm going to get this wrong, but he said, and I'm paraphrasing, so I'm not sure if I'm connecting the right words to the fighter. But he said Duran would have stretched him. No, he said Hearns would have stretched him out. Duran would have, killed him. I won't tell you what he said Hagler would have done, made him into something. And he said Sugar Ray would have intimidated him. Okay, now, because again, I think those four, and I believe that. I believe that all four of those guys would have beaten Mayweather, but I don't think Floyd would have fought their fight. Like when Leonard fought, we always talk about the Duran Leonard one, but when Leonard fought Hearns, people forget Hearns was winning that fight. And if you remember the famous line, I think it was during that fight, "You're blowing it, son. You're blowing it," against Angelo Dundee, because he was fighting Hearns' fight. Hearns was known, for that big shot, that big punch. Sugar Ray was a mover and dancer and head movement and jabs and get out of the way. He didn't do that. And then he did catch him and he won the fight, of course. But Floyd would never fight. When he fought Canelo, a banger, he didn't stand there toe to toe. He did a shoulder roll. He moved around. And some people criticize him for that. But why would you want a skilled fighter like that, both offensively and defensively, to stand there and slug? Because you know what would have happened, Luther? You and I would have said, and I don't know what Jim would have said, but you and I would have said, why would Floyd Mayweather stand toe to toe with Canelo?
Right. Exactly. I mean, I think he gets a bad rap. I have no problems with him in the ring. I mean, he fought some guys, 26 consecutive wins in world title fights. I mean, that's pretty amazing. He's had his resume is solid. Maybe he didn't get the knockouts that people wanted, but
that wasn't him.
Game plan was to hit and not be hit.
Let me ask you this. You're a baseball guy. Rod Carew, one of the greatest hitters of all time. Okay. Are you going to criticize him because he wasn't a home run hitter? Exactly. No, that wasn't his game. Okay. Floyd, and I read the list, if you remember, it was a couple of years ago.
Right.
I was going into one of our shows. I said, you know what? I'm going to take a look and see who Floyd fought. He fought everybody. He fought sluggers. He fought dancers. He fought rough. Who was that guy? Start with me, Baltimore. That guy was nuts. Okay, that guy was like a wall. And I thought if Floyd was going to lose, that was the fight he was going to lose. And Floyd embarrassed him. Okay. Now, Jim thought Gaddy was going to beat him. I didn't think so because Floyd could have just jabbed him and cut him, and that's what he did. Look, when you have time, anybody, look at, and I don't want to hear he fought when they were old or when they were young. I mean, how the hell can you time that? Okay. You fight who's there.
Exactly.
People say, oh, he was old when he fought him. Well, that's not anybody's fault. Okay. But De La Hoya, who I thought won that fight, but regardless, he fought everybody. So you have to give that man a ton of credit. And again, how stupid would he have been? And we would have been on this show. And I'm sure Jim would have been on this show too. If he would have fought, like I said, I'm just using, or a Gaddy. Gaddy was known for what? The blood and guts warrior.
Right.
He would just throw punches. Why in the hell would you fight a phone booth fight with him if you were Floyd Mayweather? Now, Ward was different because Ward could hit too, and he wasn't the stylist by no means that Mayweather was, obviously. So that's the only fight Mickey Ward could fight. But Mayweather, that would have been crazy for him. This is another. Who was the other guy that everybody thought?
Who, Madonna? Marcus Madonna?
That was the one I was talking about. Yeah, no, Baltimore. There was a Baltimore too, but Marcus Madonna. Yeah, that was. I thought that maybe he was going to catch Floyd, but he didn't. He didn't. So you have to give Floyd all the credit in the world. And then, again, we love Jim. Jim, and I said if he was here, I'd never seen a guy more overrated than McGregor. Okay. Jim's talking about Muhammad Ali. I said, come on, Jim, don't mention those two. Maybe in his world, the MMA fights, maybe, I don't know. But I personally think that Floyd, after the first round, he took a punch. He said, oh, man, this guy isn't going to hurt me. So he played with him all night long. And I guess the one punch that he landed hurt Floyd later on in the fight. But in my opinion, if Floyd really wanted to turn it up and cut it loose, I think he could have finished that fight within 4 rounds. What do you think?
I agree. You're talking about the fighter you're talking about is Colas Baldomir.
Yes, yes. That guy was like a wall.
Yeah.
Hey,
unanimous decision.
He could hit.
Yeah, he could. But Floyd's resume. I mean,
he was smart. Floyd has one of the greatest resumes, if not the guy that jumps out of my mind. And people might not agree, but I don't know. Was Muhammad had a great resume.
Oh yeah, okay. Muhammad Ali. Yeah,
but tell me who else, and we're jumping around here, but that's part of the fun of the show. But tell me besides Floyd, Luther, off the top of your head, Sugar Ray, Duran, I'm not going to say, well, I guess Hagler, those four, but who had a better resume than Floyd?
I don't think you can. I mean, you look at the number of champions.
De La Hoya had a nice resume.
Look at the Hall of Famers he's fought. You know, he has Oscar, Ricky Hatton, Baltimore,
right.
When Juan Manuel Marquez, Shane Pacquiao, Victor Ortiz, Cotto, Guerrera,
and he also fought. Who I always thought was damn tough was Zab Judah. Judah gave him a run.
Yeah, he got him in a split decision as well. Arturo Gotti's on his record.
Arturo Gatti, yeah. So I'm trying to think, you know, outside of maybe his first, I don't know, 13 fights, he fought some names. So I don't know. We never really talked. We talked about his great resume, but I don't know if we ever said that perhaps he has the best resume ever.
Well, you talk about the number of Hall of Famers and champions on his resume. It's up there. It's up there.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of but anybody else. But we originally started this with Canelo. Do you think that he wants to fight the names, and it's his promoters, De La Hoya and that group, are saying, let's just fight this guy and that guy, or do you think it's a combination of the two?
I think Canelo's ducking tough competition along with his promotional Golden Boy company, because Oscar De La Hoya, what made him great, his resume is pretty outstanding as well. He fought the best of the best.
Oh, no question.
You can't knock his resume, even though when he fought the best, he usually lost. But his resume is great. And Canelo's resume, you look at all the guys he has not fought that are in his age group. Man, it's just incredible. No Caleb Plant, no Benavidez, the Charlo brothers, Demetrius Andrade, Billy Joe Saunders. None of those guys are on his record. Better be the 175 pounder.
Oh, that's the one. That's the guy who I really. Last time one of the questions was who's the next superstar, and I said Charlo. But you know what, Benavidez, he might be that guy because he's good.
Yeah, he's
good. And I know you like Caleb Plant, and I think
Caleb Plant is terrific, man.
Yeah,
sweet hands. You can't go wrong with sweet hands.
And he's got the story. Yeah, without
great
question.
Story, great skill. And the thing is, I was really looking forward to him fighting David Benavidez. That could have been a pay-per-view, a big match, and Benavidez loses his belt on the scale. Now Canelo's going to get it, and he may never see that belt again.
That's right.
And that's a shame, and I don't like the way the WBC has all these belts, the franchise champion.
Silver.
Porter just lost. Now he's fighting for a WBC silver welterweight on Saturday. Come on, it makes no sense.
We talked about that. And, the old timers like to say, and I mentioned the Rochester Boxing Hall of Fame, and I remember there was a lot of old timers there. And the one thing that they all said separately to different groups, right, when they were talking was, back when I was a kid and there was champions, there was one champion, not 35. And, I in one way, Luther, I'm okay with there being so many belts because maybe it gives these guys a few more bucks because it's a so-called title fight. But the fans know, who the heavyweight champ is, who the super middleweight champ is, and all that. But I think that in a way it does water it down. I guess that's the best word. It waters it down. But so you don't think Canelo's going to fight any of those names that you mentioned? Because if he did, and he like Saunders, the guys you just mentioned, and if he beat them, then he would definitely, then we can start talking about a resume.
Right. And that's all I want to see. He's getting the money, he's getting the fame, but he's not putting in the work. And that's why I have a problem with the way he's moving. And Terrence Crawford is another one. I don't like the way these guys are moving.
I like Terrence Crawford a lot, but you got to start turning it up a little bit.
Yeah. And look, you can't keep living on on your resume from 135 and 140. You're in 147. You fought nobody of note. Amir Khan, who's been knocked out by numerous people.
He's a nice name.
He's a couple years ago, but now he's just a punching bag.
He's a stepping stone.
Josecito Lopez. I mean, Josecito Benavidez, David's brother. He beat him, but he had just got shot in the leg. Not a great resume. Jeff Horn, who really lost to Pacquiao, in my opinion. I think Bob Arum just knew that Pacquiao was leaving and took that belt from him. No way Jeff Horn beat Pacquiao that fight.
Two guys that really get stretched out. That I don't mean physically. That I guess their names in the boxing world, and they are that Chris Algieri and Jeff Horn. It's like when you beat one of those guys, you put a feather in your cap. I don't see that. I don't see the one of them being like a big time win if you beat them. Jeff Horn, I mean, they really pumped him up, and I thought, along with you, I thought that he lost that fight. But he's fighting somebody pretty soon. I forgot who it is. It's a name fighter. Anyway, but I'm with you. But I still, I know you're very passionate about it. You say, man, this guy should fight this guy, the Charlos, and I say, Luther, you're right. But at the same time, don't you want to, when you're talking all that mess, don't you want to fight the best guys and really find out who you are? Okay. Vince Lombardi said the greatest feeling in the world is to lie exhausted in victory. The second greatest feeling in the world is to lie exhausted in defeat. But at least you gave it everything you had. You played your best. Can you really look in the mirror and say, like, if Canelo, the zone, like you said, well, they're not going to pay for this fight, but this, what's his name? The guy that they want him to fight?
Anvil. He's not even reputable.
Tell the audience a little bit about his background.
Oh man,
because I can sense in your text you were upset.
I was really upset because I don't understand. He has all the talent in the world, and you're fighting these guys for no reason. All right, this guy that he's fighting has lost his last 3. He hasn't fought for 2 years. Anvil Yildirim, his last 3 fights, he lost a decision to Anthony Durrell, who David Benavidez just knocked out 2 fights ago. A decision to Mock, a 46-year-old guy. He got TKO'd. I don't even know how he's ranked. He TKO'd a guy who's 3-31.
What's he ranked?
This guy, somehow the WBC has this guy ranked number 1.
Wow. Okay.
So that tells you, but he hasn't fought in over a year. How is he still number 1? Don't you have to be active? I have some real questions about the WBC right about now.
You know what?
The belt everybody respected, but now with these franchise champions and all these silver and
that's what we were talking about. Yeah, the silver. And you called it. Who did you call that about the franchise?
I called it with Canelo and when Lomachenko got it. I didn't
one
like
other guy. There was one other guy that. And he was a big name fighter. Was it? I don't know if it's Fury. I don't know who it was, but you called it, and they said he's now the franchise champion. I mean, franchise silver. What are you talking about?
Right. I said Lomachenko was going to get it, and Canelo. I mean, but that's just a way so they could just pick and choose who they want to fight. Whatever one thing fighting these tough, the number ranked contenders. Number 1.
It's one thing to have WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, they call it the alphabet soup. That's one thing. But when you start having the WBC silver and the franchise and the colonial and the intercontinental, now you're really watering it down. And I think that takes away from it. But do you think, I mean, heck, things change every 5 minutes anymore, but I mean, the guys like a Fury who said he was only going to fight so many more fights, or some of the older guys, before we get into 2 real older guys. But do you think that this pandemic and not having fans and obviously that's a big moneymaker, like how long can these guys not fight?
I think, everything else about 2020 has been terrible, but maybe the good thing is some of these top fighters will have to fight each other to make the money they want. That may be the silver lining, because before,
with or without fans,
without fans, they may have to fight each other because that's the only way they could get on pay-per-view or whatever. Because other than that, they're not going to make the money they're used to. They'll be way under. Bob Arum, he almost had a fight fold from Lomachenko fighting Teofimo Lopez because of money. Teofimo Lopez was only getting $1 million. and he felt he should get 2 million because
Right.
Lomachenko was getting 3.
Right.
Which in a unification fight, you should get at least 2 million. Come
Mhm.
on, pandemic or not, and Bob Arum just continues to abuse these fighters.
Oh,
I think it's disgusting. Most of these promoters, Don King, happy birthday, Don King. It's his birthday today.
okay.
He gets a bad rap, but Bob Arum is just
Well,
as
Arum
dirty
is,
as them.
I'll never
Maybe
forget when
dirtier.
after Vinny fought Dana Rosenblatt, the
Mhm.
first fight, and Vinny was losing. He was getting hit, and Rosenblatt was tough southpaw. He's undefeated. Vinny just came off a loss against Roy Jones Jr., so everybody thought Vinny was done.
Right.
And he had a puffy eye, and his eye was closing. Then all of a sudden, Vinny hits the big shot, knocks him down, and then, like he said, Rosenblatt got up, and we call it Rosensplat. But when he got up, that's what Vinny said. He was spaghetti, and I was the sauce. I was all over him. So, and Vinny just beat him, right? So after the fight, Vinny said, he mentioned that he says, "Yeah, I want to thank this guy, that guy, and Bob Arum. He's a rat bastard." But I probably, I don't know if I can say that, but that's what Vinny called him. I don't know. I never asked Vinny why he said that, but there was something that happened. So Don King gets the rap, but man, Arum did his thing too. But and he's like 86 years old, man. Come on, But so you do. Let me ask you this. Do you think that the pay-per-views that I think are still obscene? I think when you start charging $89, $90, or some of these fights should have never been on pay-per-view, but now
Right.
I get it. Do you think now they're going to jack up the prices of the pay-per-view to kind of pad the fact that there's no fans?
I hope they lower the price. That's what I'm hoping.
I'm with you.
Because you think about it, there's a couple pay-per-view fights coming up. The Charlos have a pay-per-view. Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz have a pay-per-view. Earl Spence versus Danny Garcia has a pay-per-view.
That's
So you can't expect the fans to pay, $100 for all 3 of those fights. I'm hoping it's around 60. It needs to come back. We're overpaying for things over here. Meanwhile, in the UK, their pay-per-view are $25. Yeah, I mean,
I didn't know that.
It's a completely different ball game over there. Here we're paying hundreds of dollars. They can pay as little as 25. It's a different ball. We're overcharged. So maybe these prices will start going down. We'll see. I don't know what the Charlo price is yet, but it shouldn't be up there. It definitely needs to come down.
I'm with you. I still believe that if you would lower the pay-per-views, even $50 for, I'm talking about a big time, let's say Crawford and Spence,
right?
Which is a major fight.
Great fight.
Yeah, $50. I think people would go crazy for that. But when you start charging $100, especially once this thing is over and things hopefully open up and all that, people are going to be a little bit smarter about how they spend the money. So you have to be smarter and realize that the consumer probably isn't going to go crazy with some of these fights. But you mentioned a UK guy that I'm tired of him being, both of these guys. I'm tired of these guys being mentioned as the next guy for a title fight is Povetkin and Dylan White.
Oh.
I think Povetkin, I don't care what he did in the amateurs. Okay. I never thought much of him. Okay. I mean, he's a tough guy. I'm not saying he's not tough, but I don't think he's one of the elite. In my opinion, he's not a top 10 fighter. Okay. Dylan White, top 10. I guess he's a top 10 guy, but I'm not that impressed with him. I mean, it's an okay fight. I'd watch it if it was on. Okay. But what are your thoughts of that fight and predictions?
You know what? I don't like that fight. Dillian White should be fighting a Luis Ortiz if he's serious. How does Alexander Povetkin get this fight? He just drew with a guy, Michael Hunter, that people thought he would have beat. Both of those guys are PED cheats. They've both been suspended numerous times. I don't respect any of those guys that are shooting up going into a sport where you could kill somebody. I don't like either one of those guys. They're overrated. Apparently, they don't think their skill is that great. That's why they keep getting caught using steroids and PEDs. I don't think either one of those guys are good. All the top heavyweights wash them. I'm talking Fury, Joshua, Wilder, Ortiz, he's still looking for a fight, which is a shame. You know, Povetkin is not a top 5 guy. It should be
I don't think he's a top 10
weight. He's a top 10 in the heavyweight division now. He's a top 10. You really can't name 10 great heavyweights right now. You know, it'd be hard to not.
Well, again, if he's a top 10 guy, that's like saying I'm the tallest one in my family. I use that saying all the time. I just don't think anything about. I don't think anything of him. But
I hear you, Claudio.
Do you think
I'm not interested in that fight? Pardon me?
I liken it to this. Years ago, I want to say 2002, 2003, that time frame, 2001. Andrew Galata was losing to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
He was losing to what was the big guy? Michael Grant. He lost to Chris Bird. Obviously lost to Lennox
Lewis. Lennox Lewis embarrassed him. Wow.
A quick story about that. I'm sure I've talked about this. My dad and I, we love Lennox Lewis. And Galata was entertaining. That's one thing you got to say about him. You didn't know what was coming with him. My dad and I talked about that fight every day for 6 months. And my dad owned a landscape business. So we would be pulling weeds and cutting hedges. Man, if Lennox does, but you got to watch because Galata can hit. But if Lennox does this, and we broke that fight down and we couldn't wait. Go to my friend Tom's house to watch it. I think it was like 43 seconds. My dad said, I counted 6 months down of my damn life for this fight. I'll never do that again. And he was mad. But I liken Povetkin to a Galata in a sense that the more Galata lost, the more title fights he got.
Yeah.
Because he was promoted by Don King. But Povetkin, he drew against Hunter, who I think is overrated. What was his big signature win that he keeps getting these fights?
Right. All his big fights he's lost. Joshua lost. You know, AJ lost. He's probably going to lose again. He was supposed to fight Deontay Wilder, but he tested dirty. I mean, you know, this guy is very overrated, not very great in terms of the heavyweight division, and they keep pushing him back in there. They keep recycling these guys.
Recycling.
Dylan White, recycle.
I've had it with him.
You know, I'm done with all
two guys that I don't want to see. Those are the two guys. And your boy Prince Martin, who you think is the greatest of all time.
No.
I don't want to see him either.
Although that was a nice knockout he had the last time he fought. I mean, I was impressed. I was shocked.
I know you were, and you don't like him. I know.
I don't like him, but I was shocked. I don't know. Maybe I need to reconsider. But the guy he fought, he's been knocked out a couple times.
Nah.
He's still recovering from when Wilder knocked him out.
Right. You know, another guy that I rip on, and I give all these guys respect for going into. You have to.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to. Andy Ruiz is going to fight a guy that I've always given a ton of credit for. And that's Chris Arreola. It looks like they're going to fight. That could be a hell of a fight.
That's going to be a great fight. That's going to be a great fight. Just like when Arreola fought the Polish guy who just lost.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I forgot his name. Kalowski.
Kalnaki.
Yeah, Adam Kalnaki, who just got wiped out by a journeyman fighter. So
that was
a shot. That was the upset of the year. You know,
Arreola with him, and as soon as the bell rang, and I knew that was going to be that way because Kalnaki, he's got one way to fight. You know, we talked about Sugar Ray; he can brawl you, dance. That was obviously that's why he's.
That's what I said. I told you, I said that style's not good. After that fight, I lost. You gave him a lot of credit. I said that style's not going to work. He's going to run into somebody that's going to knock him out. You can't get into these wars with journey.
I got so many. I thought when he did that to Arreola, I said, man, he's going to climb the ladder pretty quick. I really thought, I don't know if he was going to beat one of the big boys. I mean, like Wilder or Fury. I don't think he'd have beaten the top 3.
Right.
I don't think. But, you know, he'd have made some noise, you know, because he's one of those guys. He's not a one big punch guy, Kalnaki. Right. He's just a cumulative, right?
Right.
But when he lost that journeyman, that was it. But Arreola and Ruiz, I've always said this about Arreola. Usually when a guy loses a title shot, he disappears. A lot of times that happened. He didn't. He got back on that horse because he really wanted to become a champion. Right. I give him so much credit. And he's going to fight Ruiz. And you know, Arreola's been taking some shots. But I hope he wins that fight. I hope he beats Ruiz because
he's not beating Ruiz. Well, it
Well,
depends
that's
on
what
which
kind of
Ruiz
shape
comes
Ruiz
in.
comes in.
For me, yeah,
It
you're right.
depends. Okay.
Yeah, if we get the Ruiz that shocked the world, or we're going to get the Ruiz that ate his way partying,
Right. Yeah.
winning that ring, wouldn't even take off his shirt because he was so fat before the fight. 400-pound Ruiz, yes. But I think Ruiz wants to get that title shot again. He
I
enjoyed
give him
it a little
credit.
too much.
I give him credit
We'll see.
because I
We'll
think
see.
I give Ruiz credit because he didn't disappear.
Right.
And he's not fighting some guy who's 6-20, hasn't fought in 3 years like Canelo's doing. He's actually fighting a guy
Tough
who is
journeyman.
dangerous.
Yeah, tough journeyman, but he's like a gatekeeper. You know,
Yeah.
you get past him, you
Yeah,
can get
yeah,
back in that mix.
right.
So we'll see.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. That'll be an entertaining fight.
and
I'd see it. I'd watch
it'll be
that.
a free fight, so that's good.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this:
Uh,
what would you rather watch, White Povetkin or Ariola Ruiz?
Areola Ruiz. I
Thank
mean,
you.
you know, White, Povetkin. Who knows if they're clean? It's going
Who
to be a
cares?
sloppy fight. Those guys are also ranked. You know, I'd like to see Ruiz get another shot. You know.
Yeah. Now I'm going to throw you a softball here, and I should plug my ears because I know I'm not going to like the answer. So just relax on me here a minute, Luther. Who am I going to talk about? How long is Big Baby suspended? Is he done?
Gosh.
Because there's a guy physically. I think I have more confidence in him physically than he does because he keeps taking this mess. Okay, but what's that?
Oh no, go ahead, Claudia.
Uh, uh, is he done? Is he going to? How long is he suspended for?
You know what? He's not done. He's going to come back.
Okay.
If Povetkin and Dillian White can come back, he can come back.
Yeah, but this is his third time?
His second time in boxing.
Okay, second time in boxing. Okay.
You know, and there's questions about it there because they're trying to now say it might have been from the last time it was still in the system. So he's trying to fight back.
You might be too young to remember. Geraldo Rivera used to do the inside. He used to do the inside stuff, not like Jim and the Wikipedia and all this.
That's his only chance. He's trying to say that was from the last time, not a new drug use. So we'll see if that gets passed. But either way, I think he comes back next year. Because it's boxing. You know, Povetkin and Dillian White, they both failed 2 drug tests, and they're still fighting. Billy Joe Saunders failed.
Right.
Canelo failed.
Canelo
just keep washing away. He failed a drug test before the second Triple G fight. Right. So a lot of these guys are using, and they keep coming back until they clean up the sport. No, he's not done. But the thing is, they may try to make an example out of Big Baby. But I think he'll be back next year.
I think he's got some skills to do something. That might be him calling you and getting mad at you.
That's almost our time, though, Claudia. Oh, man.
All right, well, quick. We'll end it real quick. We talked about Tyson Jones Jr. They may push it back to November. I still hope that if they do push it back, that they take the headgear off, take that E word out.
I think that's what they're trying to push it back for. And Roy Jones said, if you do that, I want more money, which I definitely.
I'm with. And there's 2 people that we have a connection with. Tommy Ian Keller is training Roy Jones Jr. And Jimmy Birchfield. They said Jimmy Birchfield Jr. might be Jimmy Birchfield Sr.
Wow.
Is promoting it. So so that'd be great
fight for him to get his hands on.
So Pittsburgh Ring Talk has connection to that fight, and we'll verify some things once it's signed, sealed, delivered. We'll get those guys on.
And we got to get Tommy Ian Keller, maybe Roy Jones. We get both of those guys.
We'll get Birchfield on, and because we got contacts, Luther.
Yeah, we got to start using them, especially now they're home. They can't say
no.
They're not doing anything. They're at the house. Come on the show and let's go.
There you go.
Well, we're actually, we're kind of over time, but there's still a couple more topics. We probably can go a few more minutes, Claudio.
Okay.
If you wanted to.
Sure.
Dang, I had a lot of stuff I wanted to ask Donnie.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but now there's a fight. Sean Porter has a fight this weekend coming up.
I can answer a lot of Donnie's questions. I know his career better than he does. If you have any questions.
Yeah, we definitely got to get him on, man. I definitely want to get his viewpoint. But Sean Porter has this fight coming up this weekend against Formella, 22-0. What do you expect out of that fight? Do you think that's going to be any competition for him, or?
I don't want to say it won't be any competition, but I'm the older I get, the more I believe that experience in boxing counts.
Mhm.
Okay. And Porter's not going to be, he's not going to be blinded by the rays of this fight because he's been through big time fights. This is this guy's first big time fight. I think Porter will school him. I think he knows as long as he comes in shape, which he usually does. I think it'll be a nice fight to watch because sometimes a guy like with Porter's style, he's not exactly the hardest guy to hit. So he'll probably make it more of a fight than he should. But I think Porter will win the fight. I think it'll be a unanimous decision, if not a knockout late.
Yeah, this guy he's 22-0, only 10 knockouts. So I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be. So, all right, I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Well, I like Porter. I get ripped on, but I like Porter a lot.
All right,
I don't like the ties he wears.
Oh, God. I hate his wardrobe. I hate his boxing style. I love his resume. Hate his style. Hate his boxing style. Real sloppy. Wilder 3, does it happen this year? Yes or no?
Wilder Fury 3 this year?
This year.
No, not this year.
Okay.
I think they're going to wait. Although Fury just said recently that he's not going to wait too much longer.
Oh, that's what I don't like about Fury. Yeah. I mean, it's a pandemic. Yes, you want to have it in December. Wilder never said he didn't want to fight. That was his promoter, Arum, saying that.
I think the fact that there will be, if they can find somewhere where there's fans, then I think it'll have to happen, Luther, by September.
Okay.
For sure. You have to sign it by September. But how do they know? And then the ticket sales, because Wilder Fury 3 is going to be big box office, pay-per-view and in person. Okay. So I just don't see them allowing fans in. I mean, again, things change.
So why is Fury, it is a pandemic, it has to happen by December or he's moving on. What, he's going to give up the belt? It's already signed. He's just, I'll be glad when somebody knocks him out for good. I think he's bad for the sport. I don't
really
like that. I don't like
that. You think he's bad for the sport?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a known cheater, Claudio. I showed you the videos. What he
all right, Geraldo.
Glove. I mean, it's not me. Referees have said he's the dirtiest fighter they've ever refereed.
Wow,
Eddie Cotton said that. I'm gonna send that to you.
Yeah.
I'll show that next time. He said he's the dirtiest fighter he's ever refereed.
You did.
And
I just didn't know. I didn't watch it. I didn't look at it.
His words, not mine. Did you see that?
You showed me the gloves, the sparring partner, and all that stuff. Yeah.
No, but I'm going to send you the referee who said I refereed Galata.
Okay.
He's the dirtiest fighter I've ever refereed.
Yeah, he was dirty, all right.
Yeah. So Claudio, man, it's been a fun show. I know we got to get out of here, man, but it's always a pleasure.
It's always fun. You know what? We had a script with Donnie, and unfortunately he couldn't make it, and we just jotted some things down. But I still say, and it's because of you, or when Jim's here, it's always the best show. There's some boxing shows on TV. They're nothing like ours. We cover all kind of stuff. We have fun, and most of the time we're accurate.
Half the time, most of it. Yeah, you're right. Hey, but Claudia, it was real. I really definitely enjoyed the show, man. It's always a pleasure, man.
Always.
Take care, man. Check out the website. Make sure you check out Ring Talk.